Welcome to the Chameleon Cook part of Juan's World, as I usually do on a Tuesday. And if you have been paying attention, you'll know that for the past 4 weeks I have been looking at the onion family, and in particular I've been looking at soups within the onion family. And last week I did 2 garlic soups and promised I would give you a third today, which is what I'm going to do. This is a Spanish garlic soup, rather different from the ones I gave last time. But before I get into that, I want to start with another aspect of the Chameleon Cook. Again, if you've been paying attention, you will remember that every time I made a soup, French onion soup, leek soup, all those different kinds of soups, I made a lot of soup. And I was not about to spend 4 or 5 weeks eating nothing but soup made with onions or garlic or leeks or whatever. And so I made them, I had a nice bowl, and then I froze them. And my freezer still has a fair number of frozen soups in it. But the other day I decided to make fish pie, which is something I'll perhaps get round to. It's like cottage pie, but different because instead of it being a layer of filling topped with mashed potatoes, the fish and eggs are mixed in with the mashed potatoes so that it's all one. I'll do that at some point. Anyway, I made it and I thought, well, you know, this is going to be a little bit dry if I don't have a gravy. And I had the chive soup that I had made frozen, so I thawed it and I added cream to it, as you can see here, and I thickened it, and it formed a wonderful gravy for my fish pie. So that's the Chameleon Cook working again. Meanwhile, back to garlic and garlic soups. You remember the 2 that I made for you, quite delicious. One of them made with roasted garlic, one of them made with sauteed garlic. And now I'm going to get on to a soup that is much, much more complicated because it's the garlic and it's also bread, paprika, ham, poached egg. Let's get started. Alright, so here we are making Spanish garlic soup, sopa de ajo, and I've never made this before. I've had it once or twice a long time ago, but never actually made it. It's made with garlic, and so here we have the garlic in a fair amount of olive oil, and I'm just going to heat it up. And what I want to do is I want to turn it just a little tiny bit golden, not a lot, because if you caramelize garlic too much it becomes bitter. So all I'm really doing right now is flavoring the olive oil. And as you can see, it's just perking a little bit. I don't want it to do too much. Just want to get it just going a little tiny bit. And meanwhile, I've got some croutons ready. Now, if you've got fresh bread, then you're going to need to saute the bread so that it's crispy. I'm using 2-day-old bread. It's crispy enough, so I don't need to do that. And I've also got some Spanish ham, which I was very lucky to find here in Cambodia. And so I'm going to use that too. But right now I'm just going to let this bubble away a little bit, and I'll come back in a few minutes and show you how I want it nice and golden around the edges only. Okay, we're just about 5 minutes in, and it's getting to about where I want it to be. I don't want it to caramelize too much, just a tiny fraction. And I'm going to add some ham. Beautiful Spanish ham. I've got about 7 cloves of garlic in there, which really is enough for, well, maybe 2 people. It's going to have to be enough for 1 person because I don't have anyone else to share it. I'm just going to stir that around, and you can see how the garlic is taking on a little bit of color. And now I'm going to add paprika. Now if you can get hot paprika, so much the better. Hungarian hot paprika would be really nice. I'm having to do with the paprika I could find, and I probably will have to add a few hot peppers. Anyway, here goes the paprika. Plenty. And I'm going to give that a stir. Yum. Oh, the aroma coming off that is just wonderful. Now I'm going to add the bread. Let's get the bread covered with the paprika and oil. Ah, it's looking so delicious already. Okay, so I've got some beef broth on the hob, and I'm now going to add it to the pot. Go. Now what I am going to do here is I'm going to let it simmer, and I'm going to let the tastes combine, and I'm also going to let the broth soak into the bread. So here we are after about 20 minutes. The bread is soaking up the broth, and it's cooking nicely, And so I'm going to poach an egg in the broth. And first of all, I'm going to turn the stove off. Okay, so here we are now at the final stage. I just need to heat through the soup a little bit more. The bread is soaked up. All the broth with the paprika looks delicious. Next step, I'm going to poach an egg in the soup and then serve it. Now, if you're not familiar with poaching an egg, you need to first of all crack the egg into a bowl or into a saucer and then add it to the broth. Here we go, somewhat trepidatiously. See, there's the egg into the broth. Gonna let the broth cook it, and I'll just maybe spoon a little bit of broth over so that the white cooks. I don't want the yolk to cook completely. Some people don't like a runny yolk, but I do. So I'm just gonna get the white cooked and then I'm gonna serve it. And so here we go. You just spoon the broth over the white to make sure it cooks. It's not so very different from frying a sunny side up egg, as they call it in the United States, where you spoon the fat over the egg because you want to make sure that the white is good and cooked. Just about there. The next step is going to be ladling the soup into a bowl with the egg on top. Very delicate matter. Okay, off with the stove. And first the soup into a bowl. Now the egg. Let's see if I can do this. It'll be a bit obscure because the tripod may get in the way, but let's see what I can do. Hey, perfect. Okay, so there is the soup. I'm just going to take the camera off and I'll focus it on the soup so that you can see it. Okay, here's the soup with the egg in the middle. And of course you know that as soon as I dip my fork into it, the yolk will splash all into the soup and it'll be delicious. But I can't hold the camera and dip at the same time, so you just have to take my word for it. But I'll show you some more photos in a little while. Okay, well here's the soup with the egg broken up, and it's absolutely delicious. It's amazingly rich. I wish I had slightly hotter paprika, but I added a little red pepper, so that worked out okay. Perfect for a lunch on my own. If I was having lunch with other people, I'd poach more eggs, and then we'd have an egg each, but I'm by myself, so one egg. Delightful.